Hey everybody, welcome back. It's me, Teri Hunter. I'm an angel therapy practitioner, Reiki master, intuitive guide, and empowerment coach. And I'm here with this week's angel readings by sign, astrological sign, for the week of May 3rd, 2018. Now I know it's not Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's actually Thursday. But where I live here in Orange County, California, Thursday seems to herald in the weekend. And I don't know, I just thought it would be kind of fun to break it up and do my sessions on an odd day of the week. So I picked Thursday. Anyway, so here we go. We're going to start with Aries. As always, Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It is my rising sign and the ruler of my chart, my natal chart, Mars. So let's see what Spirit has to say for Aries this week. Very interesting, Aries. Okay, so our first angel that shows up in our foundational position is the angel Fiona. And Fiona talks about basically saying that now that you've asked God and the angels for help, be open to receiving their guidance. Now, I want to say this. This is really about putting an intention out to God, the angels, Spirit, to whoever's running this show. And to me, it looks like this week the focus is actually on partnerships. Daniel is the angel of marriage. Sorry, we're getting a weird, there we go. I still haven't figured out how to see myself in reverse. Anyway, Daniel is the angel of marriage. And while he talks about partnerships, he's kind of goes deeper in, another layer in, saying essentially that how are you showing up in your partnership? How is your attitude, your belief, your dynamic walking in? Because if you've gone to God and the angels and asked for help in balancing your relationships, this could be your intimate relationships, it could be your relationships with business partners, with workmates, with your children. I tend to think this might be more inclined to be for those of you that are in a marriage, in a relationship, to really spend time and contemplate how you are showing up. Sort of taking the focus off of your partner, taking the focus off what you're not getting from the situation and start thinking about what you may be giving to the situation. Because in my final position here, I have Yvonne, and Yvonne is a card of vulnerability for me. And this vulnerability is not about giving someone my power. It's not about standing vulnerable to somebody else's idea of who I should be in the partnership. The vulnerability is being the person I want to be in a partnership with. Okay, let me go back. What I'm trying to say is that regardless of how your partner is showing up, say your partner's in a defensive, stubborn place right now, it does not serve you to show up in a defensive, stubborn place mirroring that. If somebody can't hear what you're saying, if you seem to be running around in a cul-de-sac trying to make your point, stop trying to make your point and see how you can best serve your partner by listening to them, by letting them know that you want to hear them. To me, this is really kind of crucial for you, Aries. And I'm an Aries rising. I'm way more Aries. And one of the things I've learned as I get older is to try to stop when I see the spin cycle coming in communication, when I see my relationships start going off the rails because I'm so invested in making my point. I'm so invested in trying to be seen. See your partner. Listen to your partner. And see if that doesn't shift things so that your partner wants to see and hear and listen to you more. Okay, should be a fun week. Let's see. All right, let's go on to Taurus. Taurus. I think I've mentioned that Uranus, the planet of innovation in the form of the internet, social media, technology is moving into Taurus in a couple of weeks on the 15th. So that's really going to affect Taurus in a big way over quite a period of time. It's a long transit. It's 7-8 years long. So there's going to be a lot of shifting for Taurus over the next few years. So the first thing I want to say for Taurus is that I really believe that God and the angels are saying for you to be flexible. And I don't mean this to be, loosey-goosey, but also not to be like steel, because things are going to change and your perceptions of things will change and your happiness will be a direct result of your ability to shift. And I don't mean to shift to give up your power, again, to give up your point of view, to give up your voice. It's your willingness to step back before you take action, before you draw a conclusion, and give wiggle room for that change may be something for the better. Okay, so now let's see what the angels have to say with the 4 cards. I just got that hit before we started, so give it like we get it. Can you see Lucky laying over there in the corner? That's his perch. He watches out over the street. There's a street right here, and the ocean. A lot of scuba divers out there. So he makes sure everybody's paying attention, doing what they're supposed to be doing. All right, here we go, Taurus. The first card is Serena, which is the angel of money. The second card is Indril, the angel of the light worker. The third card is Vanessa. She's an angel that asks you to make a decision. And then there's Astera, who's asking you to reach for the stars. All right, so here we go. So Serena being in the foundational position, Taurus, is really saying to me that the money that you need, and I really think this is straight up abundance, straight up material security, straight up dollars, resources, things that make you feel safe and secure in your space. Serena is telling you that right now you may not know how you're going to feel secure. You may not know how your money's going to show up, but God is in charge of that. And Uranus going into Taurus is really going to affect financial things. And your ability to trust beyond what you can see, to know that you're here for a reason. This card, the Lightworker card, is not saying that everybody here has to be a light worker and stand in service to God and the angels, but it is about shining our inherent light. We are light beings. We are energy beings. And as we shine that light into the universe in a place of faith, okay, Serena offered us money, said God was in charge of how that security was going to show up. The angel's advice card is Vanessa saying, are you going to make that decision, your decisions based on faith or fear? You know, fear is gripping once it starts to take hold. The scenarios that we'll run, the rabbit's hole we can go down, it's precarious. It's almost like being on a slip and slide. It's hard to get your footing once fear sticks in. So it's really important, and this is what Astera is saying, is to run the opposite scenarios. What are the scenarios that can work out? How can it be that all the solutions will show up miraculously? You just don't know. So Taurus, I guess what I'm asking you to do here is when you sit in the unknown, rather than tell yourself the stories about how scary that unknown can be, flip the script in some respects, and maybe the unknown is laying the foundation for something even better that you could not have imagined. All right, and I want to say this straight up about money, finances, your property, anything to do with your material security, okay? All right. On to Gemini. I swear I'm getting so lucky with this construction stuff lately. It seems like magic happens and I turn on the computer and start to shoot. These guys go to lunch. They go to the other side of the building. They do something different. It's awesome. All right, Gemini, what does Spirit have to say for you today? All right, we have Xana, Chantal, Azure, and Archangel Raphael. All right, well, In the foundational position is Xana, and Xana talks about being protected and that all types of harm is really behind you. Now, it's interesting to me because I don't think of this as physical harm. I usually think of it as spiritual, emotional, mental harm. And here we have Chantal, the angel of romance. And it's interesting to me, Gemini, because I think that what Xana is offering him is a new relationship or the resurgence of a relationship. But I also believe that Chantal here is saying that in order to feel safe and protected in your relationships, it's very important to continue to, this is Azure asking you, she says your desired outcome will happen in the near future. Don't try to force it. I'm going to jump around a little bit here. I'm going to go to the end here because Archangel Raphael is here too. So I want to say this for you, Geminis. Your relationship, not only with someone else, but with yourself is very important, because what I really think that Chantal is saying is that it's time for you to really look at the kind of relationship you want to have and to give life to that idea, because that's where you will feel the safest and the most protected, is in not shaving off the things that you really want, not dumbing down in your relationship to feel safe. Because the safest way you're going to feel is to be all of what you want to be and to allow yourself the privilege of wanting certain things in a relationship. You know, some people love to watch foreign films. Some people don't. If you don't like foreign films and you're stuck with somebody who loves them, that could, I mean, this is a trite kind of example, but go with where your taste is. Don't try to choose something or push a square peg into a round hole in your relationships just because you want to be in a relationship. I really think that the way to feel safest and protected and to really have the healthiest of relationships, Gemini, is to really look at the relationships you're in, see if they're measuring up for you in an assessing way, not a judgment, but an assessment. 5, 10, 15 years down the line, am I and this person going to still enjoy each other's company? Do we have the same ideas about how we want to live our lives? I think that's where the real protection comes in and where the real opportunity for Spirit to bring you a fabulous relationship. And if you're already in a relationship, then to stoke the fires of that relationship. But it's going to be up to you to kind of come clean with what you want, with what you want to see for a lifetime. I don't like to wake up really early. And so if somebody wants to get up at 6 o'clock every morning and bam, start their day, we're going to have a disconnect at some point. I may initially fall in love with them and think, oh, this is fabulous. I don't mind getting up. But somewhere down the line, the real me is going to show up and I'm going to get sick of that. And I'm going to be like, no, you go do your thing, honey. So we got to make sure that that's compatible, that person won't feel rejected if I do that. These are just kind of trite, weird examples, but sometimes it's important to look at the details. You know, it's not always just about the big picture. It's about the small details that create the big picture in your relationships. So Gemini, you want to feel safe and protected? You want to feel secure and healed in your intimate relationships? Then it's up to you to really take a look at them and make sure that they are in alignment with what makes you happy. And then if they don't, be brave enough to stand in that energy. All right, guys, let's go on to Cancer. All right, Cancer. Let's see what Spirit has to say for you. It's funny, as I check into Cancers, the first thing I think of is that Scorpio full moon. Wonder how y'all did. It was a really beautiful, beautiful moon. Spent quite a bit of time staring at it. But with being water signs, I would imagine you guys felt it pretty clearly. Oh, here we have Azure coming up again. And we have Opal in our opportunity. Oh, and Chantal. And Archangel Uriel. Interesting. All right. Well, it's kind of interesting for Cancer. Seems to be semi-similar to Gemini, but I think this is more in regards to either the children in your life or the young people in your life. We have Azure in the foundational position. She says your desired outcome will happen in the near future. Don't try to force it to happen. In the opportunity or the obstacle is Opal. Opal says that God is taking care of your children both here on the planet and in heaven. And then in the angel's advice is Chantal. And Chantal is normally a romance card. But here, this to me speaks to the resurgence or the opportunity for balancing relationships with my own children or with my inner child. Archangel Uriel being in the last position is a little bit challenging, because what it tells me is that a lot of you Cancers may have been very frustrated or angry or feeling a lack of forgiveness within your hearts because of feeling either, I want to say, if it's about your inner child, then for some reason you've been feeling dutiful. You've been taking actions or stepping out in this last little period of time, not with what you wanted, but what you think other people want from you or for you or about you or who you are. And in order for that frustration to end, you're going to have to allow what you want to come forth. And you know, Cancers are predisposed to think about family and about others, and you're just a very nurturing, giving sign. But if you're not giving to yourself, you're going to start to feel resentment, and then all of the loving acts that you're trying to bring forth aren't going to feel as loving, and it's going to have sort of a backlash, weird feeling. I also want to say this, for you Cancers that are actually parents, I think that if you're feeling frustration with your children, I almost feel like Spirit is telling me to back off a little bit from them, to give them an opportunity to have epiphanies, to give them an opportunity to see that you are doing your best. You know, you're just a large child in an older body, and maybe there's a little bit of a time to give your children an opportunity to sit in your shoes for a minute. So rather than trying to tell them how to show up, which is just frustrating you, rather inspire them. My dad sort of used to do this to me all the time. He'd say, Teri, what would you do if you were in my shoes? And then I knew that if I lowballed the punishment, it would be worse. So I had to really be fair and put myself in his shoes. So Cancers, I want to offer you that for those of you that are parents. All right, so we'll move on to Leo. All right, Leo. I'm trying not to bang the cards on the table because I forget it shakes the camera. All right. Wow, Azure's really making herself known all over the place right now. All right, dears. The first card that comes up is the angel Sonia. And Sonia, on the face of the card, okay, here I go trying to figure out how to do my life in reverse. That sounds silly. Okay, so look, Sonia can represent a deceased loved one reaching out from heaven saying that they are well and doing fine. But when we're talking about a collective, I really think that this is about your spirit guides, your angels, those that watch over you as an individual, your team, your spiritual advisors, your counsel. They are reaching out to you and they are asking you to lovingly assert yourself. Azure's here in the angel's advice, which is saying your outcome, your desired outcome will happen in the near future. But I think it's a little bit contingent on the way that you're communicating. I'm hearing the word roaring like a lion might not do you much good right now. So you may want to purr like a kitten, because Grace and Antoinette is asking you to have compassion and to actually see things from another person's point of view. And I think that's how you'll be the most effectual. It feels almost like Leos might be feeling a building up of frustration, almost as if there is an energy or a dynamic that you thought you were done with it, or you thought you'd flattened the button, or you thought you'd gotten past this, and then it's cropped up its little head again, and you're like, ah! You know, sometimes our issues are sort of like a radio station, and it's always going to be on, somewhere on the dial. So depending upon where we tune in, what we turn up in the way of the volume is going to highlight that. So if you find yourself going through a situation where you're rubbing up against an old issue in some ways, reach up to spirit, reach up to your team, of your counsel, and ask them to help guide you to lovingly asserting yourself through the situation so you can feel as if you expressed yourself, but in a way that others can hear you. Being defensive or overstating your point isn't going to do you any good, Leo. It's only going to get you back around the cul-de-sac, back around the cul-de-sac. All right, guys, let's go on to Virgo. When I knock on the cards, I'm knocking out all the previous energy. Let's get something fresh going on there. All right, Virgo. What's going on for the week of May 3rd? Oh my goodness, Virgos. I have to say, when I was first pulling these cards, I got Grace and Antoinette, card of compassion. Now, this is interesting because in the foundational position for Virgo. So for me, this is just a little different because I don't think that this is about having compassion or having to see something from another person's point of view. I think that Virgo is being a little hard on themselves right now. I really think that somewhere as a collective, you Virgos have set a standard for yourself of expectation, of accomplishment, achievement, of producing something right now, and it hasn't happened. We've had a lot of challenging astrological dynamics that in some respects, we may think of them as stops, obstacles, as things that get in our way, blocks, but oftentimes those blocks are really part of the preparation process so that spirit, the alignment that's happening that you can't see, there's a better outcome than you can imagine. Because I've got Maya in the opportunity, the obstacle, and then I've got Isaiah in the angel's advice. Maya is a card of schooling and education. And yes, for many Virgos, that may be applicable in a traditional sense, but for me, it's always energetic, right? It's kind of always about how am I showing up? So as you exercise compassion for yourself, regardless of what you can see in the way of actually producing that product, that knowing that you're doing your best, you have been methodical, you've been strategic, you've done your homework. So now it's time to relax. Don't overdo it. When we overstudy for something or we overperform in some ways, there's a mistrust there. There's a lack of something, which actually creates a fog within our brain that doesn't give us the ability to access the way we want to the things that we need. So as you relax a little, here's Archangel Raphael offering you a healing. Now, I've come to the conclusion as I've done this work over the years that healing really isn't a very palatable word for me anymore because every experience has a silver lining in some way. If I really look at it, sometimes my biggest challenges, my biggest heartbreaks, my biggest betrayals have led me somewhere that I could never have imagined, and with benefit that I could never have imagined. It propelled me to seek bigger reasons for things. I wasn't going to accept that, I had this crappy life because God decided it. Because I'm telling you, I was going to talk to God about that. And now here I am in my 58th year of life, and I have never felt so empowered, so creative, so inspired by my own bravery and my own willingness to follow my wants and desires. And I think that's what's happening for you, Virgo. I think that there's a possibility here that you learning to have compassion for yourself outside of that, the box, and learning that there are some times it is wise to sit back, that you've done all you can do right now, give it a pause, and see what comes in. It may be brilliant. All right, let's go on to Libra. Libra is my sun sign. I'm actually a Libra sun, Aries rising, and a Taurus moon. So I tell people all the time, I'm going to want to ram you and bully you and want you to like me all at the same time. I'm trying to soften those edges. I will just nudge you now and cajole you and then expect you to love me instead. Okay, here we go, Libra. The first card is Serafina. The second card is Yvonne. The third card is Estera. And the fourth card is Archangel Michael. Well, Serafina talks about a happy change to our family. She's represented, she's holding a baby. And for some of you, that may be very true. You may either conceive a child or give birth to something you wanted. And when I say that, I mean give birth into the world. You may want to get a house. You may have wanted to start a business. You may have, I believe what I'm seeing here is that Libra's starting to see a little bit of fruition coming, a little bit of, there's been some breadcrumbs coming that are showing that the things that you're trying to birth in the world are starting to take place, because here's Yvonne saying continue on, be vulnerable to what it is you want, and don't compromise, reach for the stars with it all. Libra, I want to say that, let's just say that, let's just say you want to start a business and you've finally decided to do that. When we start something new, sometimes we use what was old as a reference point. And I guess what I'm trying to say is don't limit yourself by your reference point. So if you were used to making, $50,000 a year and you think it would be great to make $100,000 a year, tell Spirit you want to make all the money you can to do whatever it is you want to do. Don't put a number on it. Don't put a number on it. Because you know what? They may deliver a lot more than you can imagine. Because here's Archangel Michael, and I'm going to tell you, I really think that he's asking you to trust. Man, the reflection's weird. Okay. I think Archangel Michael is telling you to have the courage to continue to make these changes and to continue to keep your eye on the prize of that inspired idea of why you started this, why you wanted to do it, whether you're wanting to start a family, whether you're wanting to start a business, whatever you're wanting to give birth to. And I don't care if you're 85 years old and you want to give birth to the idea of a new relationship in your life. Because there's somebody out there that would love to be in a relationship with you too. This is really, really a time, Libra, for you to maybe, we're so used to weighing the scales, right? Looking at doing this. We're the only astrological sign that does not have a living creature in it. We are the scales. So I think what Spirit is saying today, for just this week, is to have the courage to give birth to just what it is you want to experience and see what they do, and to reach for it all the way. Don't compromise on what you think you can do or what you've experienced you can do. Just go for the gusto. Use all the crayons in the coloring box. All right, Scorpio, on to you. Let's see what we're going to do for Scorpio. This was your moon, Scorpio. Be very interested to see how you guys all reacted. If you were having some weird dreams, if you felt extremely emotional, weird stuff came up, or you might have felt really intuitive. You might have thought about somebody and all of a sudden they called. That can happen. All right, card number 1 is Bridget. Card number 2 is Caressa. Card number 3 is Ray. And the final card is Archangel Raphael. Okay, Scorpio. Bridget is a card that asks us to take a second look into something. She tends to, the first word is caution is warranted, look deeper into the situation before proceeding further. I don't know that Bridget is asking you to look into the situation as much as Bridget is asking you to look into your own motives in the situation or your own intentions about the situation. Something about this particular spread says that it's about the ending of going into something and hoping it's what you want, but being brave enough to trust your intuitions, Scorpio, and know, is it really what I want? Because Caressa is saying that you're coming to the end of a life cycle and that new happiness awaits you. But this is your choice, Scorpio. It's your choice to lift the veil of illusion and to really dig deep into what it is that you know. Because Ray is a card that talks about yoga on the face of the card, but I always thought it was so odd. She's sitting in a meditative position with this yellow stripe coming out of her third eye. It's flanked by green and by blue. The green is my heart chakra. The blue is my throat chakra. My psychic eye is where my power comes from. It's pretty clear to me that this week at least gives you an opportunity to heal from illusions that you may be telling yourself about some of the dynamics in your life and to really come clean, because when you do that, Spirit has an opportunity to bring you more than you'd hoped for. Okay, let's go on to Sagittarius. I don't know if any of you are aware, but when you, astrology-wise, your chart progresses as you go through life. So you may start off as a natal Libra, and then in your 58th year of life, you have a Sagittarius sun. So, and that's exactly me right now. So you might look into that. You can go to different websites and look up your progressed chart, which is different than the transit chart, because the transits are about what the planets are doing going around the atmosphere. All right, here we go, Sagittarius. Well. This may be a little bit of a challenging week, Sagittarius. Did I just mention that my sun has progressed into Sagittarius? Okay, so the first card is Grace and Antoinette. It's a card of compassion, card of being able to look at something from another person's point of view, trying very, very, very diligently not to defend my point of view, but to open myself up, not just sit silently waiting for my turn to talk. Because here is the patience card, and patience is never about sitting on an egg. It's always about assimilating a situation. It's about learning from it. It's about synthesizing the situation. Because here's Layla in the Angel's Advice. This is a card of meditation. It's a card of contemplation through nature and what nature has to offer. And the final card is Bridget. We just saw Bridget a little bit earlier, and it's about looking deeper into a situation. I have to say, Sagittarius, this feels a little bit like you may have your ego bruised, and because your ego is bruised, you can't see a deeper truth in the situation. And I'm not making the other person, the other situation right. I'm just sort of thinking that there's a little bit more to the story here. I just feel like maybe there's something that y'all aren't seeing. It's almost like a co-creation of a miscommunication. And somehow that co-creation of a miscommunication is supposed to enlighten or illuminate how you are showing up when you're communicating. You know, it's one thing to have an argument with somebody. It's another thing to be ugly in that argument. I mean, there's times we can argue with people or argue with situations and be very constructive and get things done and feel good about ourselves when we've done. And there's times when we can have the same thing and we just feel ugly about ourselves. So I really think that this for you, Sagittarius, is about learning how, or paying a little bit more attention to how you're communicating. And if you're truly openly communicating and not just going out, but what's coming in, what are you hearing? Are you assimilating? Are you absorbing what the other person is trying to say? And maybe practicing a little bit of reiteration, meaning I heard you and this is what I heard, so that the other person can then hear you. All right, guys, let's go on to Capricorn. I love my lemon water. It's got a little honey spiked in there. All right, Capricorn. What's going on for you guys this week? Wow, this is a nice change. Well, not change, but from the last one. Okay, so Capricorn, Aster is saying, reach for the stars with your dreams and your desires. Don't compromise. In our opportunity, our obstacle is Seraphina. Seraphina is always about a happy change to my family. Athena is in the angel's advice, talks about lovingly asserting yourself, standing in your power. And then Yvonne is always about, for me, being vulnerable. Vulnerable to the things I want, so vulnerable that I'm intentional about it, that I can't live without it. I feel like this is really kind of cool, Capricorn. You know, you're a strong earth sign. You guys are really practical and you can really figure your way towards things and through things and get it done. But I really think that this is about just a slight bit of frivolity in the way that you're thinking. Sort of like, even though you don't know how you're going to get there exactly, you know that you have the grit, the determination, the tenacity, the endurance to getting there. And now you just need to keep reaching for the stars, and know that it's not a big jump. It's just sort of a little stair step. And not so steep that you're going to get winded. That's part of the process. So trust that and then just continue to move forward, because I think really from what I'm seeing from this, that at the end of the day, it is the journey that you will have enjoyed more than whatever it was that you wanted to attain. It's going to be how you attained it that you're going to be most proud of it. So enjoy that. All right, let's go on to Aquarius. I just put a song in my head. You know that old song, Age of Aquarius? I hope it doesn't stay there all day, because that'll be really annoying, I'll tell you. I do that all the time, though. I swear. I'll just be randomly walking by and one little thing, and I'll have some strange song from way back when in my head. All right, Aquarius, here we go. All righty. You know, Aquarius is a very, very strong thinking, analytical sign. Very lot of brilliant people are Aquariuses. Their minds are just quick, sharp, and I just want to say masterful is the word I guess I want to use. So I have Athena here saying, again, lovingly assert yourself, lovingly assert your power in what you want. I have Opal in the opportunity or the obstacle, which is about my children being safe on heaven and earth. But as a collective, I usually see it as my inner child. I have Merlina in the angel's advice, which is about doing research and getting expert opinions, seeking expert advice about things. And then the final card is Akasha. Akasha is a spiritual teacher card. Well, interestingly enough, you know, when I look at this Aquarius, I don't think every single one of you is a straight up teacher per se, But I'll bet you dollars to donuts that what Spirit is saying is that as a collective, and as you are brilliant and quick-minded, as you assert yourself, and not in a boastful way, not in a way of look how smart I am, but more in a way of a collective, in a way of helping as a team, an inspired thought, I believe that you, in many ways, sort of become almost like a teacher for those around you. I don't think you're meant to turn to them and try to teach them as much as they will learn by your example. This sort of childlike innocence that doesn't need to necessarily, this is the angel's advice for Merlina. I'm not sure that right now with Opal here that they're not saying that as you lovingly assert yourself out of your mind into your childlike innocence, that's what I think this research, what you'll learn, you will actually learn something not only about yourself, but something that you can then share with others. It's almost like sort of, I don't know, not every Aquarius is an engineer, but you have a very analytical mind. So as you relate to another analytical mind, and then you have an experience that doesn't make analytical sense, but a combination of what you know about yourself and your talents, and then allowing yourself to just lovingly, one foot in front of the other, unsuredly, but knowing you're going to get there, just like a kid knows that their parents are going to get them wherever they are going in the car. I think you're going to learn something, and I think you're going to teach something. Experience teaches, words don't teach. You know, we have a whole education system that's based on blah, blah, blah at our kids. They learn by experience. So I believe that Aquarius is an opportunity this week, at least, and moving forward, to learn something about lovingly asserting yourself and then standing in a childlike unknowing, but knowing that you're going to get there. Okay, let's go on to Pisces, our final Pisces. And you see my little baby back there. Oh, I pointed on the right one. See, there he is. Right there. That's the little Pisces having a nap. I tell you, he's a lazy puppy dog. He always has been. And I'm pretty sure I made him that way. Okay, Pisces, my little fishies. Let's see what Spirit has for you. Well, well, my dears, I want to say this for you. I think that this might be a week of just self-care for you, Pisces. And I'm not saying to be indulgent in any way, but to really, truly allow yourselves. This is Rosetta. Rosetta talks about having a way with parenting, working with children, teaching children. Here we have Sonia in your opportunity or your obstacle. That's your spirit guides. Here's Bethany talking about self-care. And then we have Archangel Raphael talking about a healing. So I want to do this for you because I want to say this. As a collective, for Pisces, and I'm sure many of you have children, and many of you, this may have to do with children, but because, again, I hate to reiterate over and over again, but because it's a collective, I think that this is really, this Rosetta card being different than Opal in the sense of this is about working through life with a childlike innocence, working through life. What do I mean when I say that? How can I put this more clearly and more succinctly? Children go through periods where they learn and then apply their knowledge. Learn and apply their knowledge. Learn and apply their knowledge. I believe this is about learning and applying your knowledge. Just because you're a grown-up doesn't mean that you can't learn something. So flexibility, the flexibility of a child. Learning, allowing yourself to have that working relationship like a child. I'm almost thinking of somebody in grammar school. And then this is interesting too, this This is your guides. It's like, I almost feel like, Pisces, that this is offering you a new level of self-care. It almost feels like learning not to be such a perfectionist or expecting too much of yourself or thinking if you're not perfect, you're not lovable. I know it sounds, I don't know if I've just taken a little bit of a left turn, because when I use the word working, I'm not necessarily talking about career. I'm talking about moving through life, being flexible. Children, when you think about a child, parents are taking their kids to dance. They're taking their kids to soccer. They're taking their kids to school, their extracurricular activities. They're constantly learning and being pummeled with different types of sensory information and learning and knowledge. And they're always having to sort of be flexible with wherever they're going and whenever they're plugging into. I kind of think your spirit guides are asking you to do that, but from a gentle way, of knowing that the whole journey of life is about learning. And as you don't have to be perfect or something, or if you can learn something new, it's something you've been doing forever, there's a reconciliation, a healing, and a pressure being let off in some way, a pressure of not having to know everything, of being right or being perfect or being 100%. We're never 100%. We're always just a little ebb and flow away from 100. We're never really zero. We're always just somewhere floating around in the middle. All right, guys, that's it for this week. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an angel therapy practitioner. You can learn more about me at my website, www.terihunter.com. That's TERIHUNTER.com. And if you want to book a private session, please feel free to go to my website, or you can text me. My phone number, my cell phone, is in the verbiage below. And I'll see you on Monday with the next Brave Heart meditation video. Okay, guys, have a great weekend. Enjoy Cinco de Mayo. Bye.